Hi children, we continue with our chapter pollution of air and water. In the previous classes we discussed about air pollution, what are the main causes of air pollution and how can we reduce the rates of air pollution. Now we move on to our topic water pollution, and first we will see what are the main causes of water pollution. Actually, what is water pollution? How will you define water pollution? The contamination of water with harmful substances like toxic chemicals, untreated sewage, etc. It is known as water pollution. Contamination means mixing up. The mixing up of water with harmful substances like toxic chemicals, untreated sewage, etc. is known as water pollution. And the substances that pollute water, the harmful substances that pollute water are known as water pollutants. And in this chapter we will discuss about the main causes of water pollution. Main causes of water pollution. The first one is industrial waste. First main cause of water pollution is industrial waste. Many industries discharge their waste materials, untreated waste materials into rivers and streams, into water bodies. Many industries discharge their untreated waste materials into water bodies. Examples are oil refineries, textile and sugar mills, paper factories, etc. And they cause chemical contamination of water. Chemicals getting mixed up with water, they cause chemical contamination of water. The chemicals released are arsenic. I don't know whether you are familiar with all these substances, you will learn it later, but the names you have to remember: arsenic, lead, fluorides, etc. These chemical substances which contain these harmful chemicals, arsenic, lead, fluoride, etc. are released into water. So these are poisonous substances. So they cause toxicity in aquatic plants and animals. From the body of aquatic plants and animals, toxicity is induced. Okay, so this is example of industrial waste causing pollution of water. Many industries discharge untreated waste materials into water bodies. Examples are oil refineries, sugar and textile mills, paper factories, etc. They cause chemical contamination of water by releasing chemicals, poisonous chemicals like lead, arsenic, fluorides, etc. And they cause toxicity in aquatic plants and animals. Actually, we have regulations to prevent this. The industries are supposed to treat their waste before it is dumped into water, before it is discharged into water bodies. They have to see that the harmful chemical substances in the waste material, in the waste, is converted to harmless ones before it is discharged into water bodies. But as we know, in our country, quite often the laws are not obeyed. Rules are not followed in our country. So there are rules to prevent this, but it is not always done. Now other way, factories, from industries, waste water is released into water bodies. Waste water is also released into water bodies from power plants and also from various industries. Actually, the temperature of this waste water will be much higher than the temperature of the water body. So it makes the water of the water body hot. From industries, hot water is released into water bodies, thereby increasing the temperature of the water of this water body. As a result, what happens? Animals and plants living in this water cannot survive. Their life is at threat. So this is how industries cause pollution of water and how they affect the life of aquatic organisms, both plants and animals. Now the second cause is pesticides and weedicides. Pesticides and weedicides. What is the use of pesticides and weedicides? You have learned it in biology. First chapter in biology you might have learned it. Pesticides and weedicides are used by farmers in their field to for the protection of their crops. To kill the pests and weeds which attack their crops. But once it rains, When it rains, these chemical substances are washed off into the neighboring water body. From the field, these chemical substances are washed off into the water body, and this can seep into the groundwater. This can seep to the ground, thereby polluting groundwater also. So you might have seen ponds or streams which look green from a distance due to excessive growth of algae. How does it happen? When these pesticides and weedicides are the fertilizers, chemical substances get washed into water body, they act as nutrients for algae to flourish. These chemical fertilizers act as nutrients for algae to flourish. Once this algae die, they serve as food for decomposers like bacteria. And in this process, decomposition process, a lot of oxygen from the water body gets used up. As a result, what happens? The aquatic plants and animals in that water body, they will not get enough oxygen. Oxygen is already used up for the decomposition process. So they may die. Okay. So that is how pesticides and weedicides cause pollution of water, how they affect the life of aquatic plants and animals. Pesticides and weedicides are used by farmers for the protection of their crops. But when it rains, these chemical substances get washed off into the neighboring water bodies, and they act as nutrients for algae to flourish. When the algae die, they serve as food for decomposers like bacteria. And in this process, a lot of oxygen from the water body gets used up, thereby decreasing the amount of oxygen that is available for aquatic plants and animals. So they may die. Okay, so that's about pesticides and weedicides. Now the third main cause of water pollution is untreated sewage. Sewage means the waste disposed from household. So untreated sewage is directly thrown into water bodies. Sewage which is not treated. What do you mean by treating? Converting all the harmful substances to harmless ones. That is called treating. Here, without any treatment, the sewage, liquid waste, is thrown into the neighboring water body, nearby water body. This include food waste, then detergents, microorganisms, etc. Okay, so the microorganisms include bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasite, etc., which can cause diseases like jaundice, then cholera, typhoid, etc. Waterborne diseases can be caused. And also certain places, proper toilet facilities are not available. In those places, last year we have learned, 7th standard you have learned about this. So people defecate in the open. When it rains, this human excreta get washed off along with rainwater into the nearby water body. This can also seep into the ground to pollute groundwater. So this human excreta is carried into the water body. It can cause various infections. If you are using this in water containing human excreta, it can cause various diseases. Okay, so that's about untreated sewage. Untreated sewage is directly dumped into water bodies. It include food waste, detergent, microorganisms, etc. These microorganisms can cause various diseases like cholera, typhoid, jaundice. Deadly diseases can be caused. And also, where proper toilet facilities are not available, people defecate in the open, it is washed off along with rainwater, causing various infections. The water become contaminated, and by using this water we may get various infections. And this water can seep into the groundwater. Rainwater which contain untreated sewage can seep into the groundwater, thereby making it also polluted. So these are the main causes of water pollution: industrial waste, pesticides and weedicides, and untreated sewage. Now under air pollution, we have learned a case study. We discussed a case study, Taj Mahal, how the white marble of Taj Mahal getting affected by pollution. Here there is a case study about river Ganga. River Ganga is one of the most famous rivers in India, one of the most famous rivers of India. It sustains most of the northern, central and eastern population. Millions of people depend on this river for their daily needs and their livelihood. But however, recently a study by the Worldwide Fund for Nature WWF shown that Ganga is one of the most endangered, 10 among the most endangered rivers of the world. What does it mean? The water of river Ganga is so much polluted, and it is seen that at many places river Ganga is almost dead. What do you mean by a river being dead? It means that aquatic life cannot survive in certain parts of this river. At certain streams, aquatic life cannot survive in river Ganga. It means that the pollution levels are so high. Pollution levels in the river is so high that the river is almost dead at certain places. An ambitious plan was launched in 1985 by Government of India known as Ganga Action Plan to reduce the pollution level in the river. But the river human activities have made the river beyond repair. Now the river is almost beyond repair. Now again in 2016, one more plan was launched by the Government of India. Name of the plan is National Mission for Clean Ganga. It was launched in 2016. So you can read this case study and you can see how polluted the river is. Human activities and industrialization have made this river beyond repair. Now these pollution levels are beyond repair, but still there is a plan in action, National Mission for Clean Ganga. So you can read that case study. When was Ganga Action Plan launched, what was its aim, etc. And how is the river getting polluted? Mainly due to industries. Other human activities are also there. People make use of this river water for their daily needs like bathing, washing vessels, etc. So human activities and industrialization have contributed a lot to the pollution of this river. So that case study you can read. Thank you, children.